And it was very intentional on my part to pursue human ecology because, as a 18-year-old, I did not know what I wanted to do I had an idea, but I still had lots of interests and lots of passions I wanted to pursue. And so I like the model of liberal arts colleges in that you study or, explore various passions or fields, and then at the end of 2 years, you declare a major.
Today I'm with Sibongakonke Dlamini. Welcome to Discover Talent with Vico.net.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
No, I'm good. I was enjoying our chat before we came on set.
Yeah.
What I figured out is that there's Ejozini, there's India, there's the UK, there's Cape Town, there's Randburg.
There's the US.
Where do we start?
From the beginning. It's always a good place to start.
Okay, so take me there.
Yeah. So I was born and bred in Ejozini, KwaZulu-Natal. Mm-hmm. It's about 4 or 5 hours away from Durban, depending on who's driving. If it's my dad, it's 4 hours.
When you're driving, how long does it take?
7.
Oh, okay.
So I should increase the range from 4 to 7.
No, I'll take it. It's fine.
Yeah, so I spent my formative years in Ejozini, then went to Pietermaritzburg Girls High for high school. So I would have been 12, 13 at around that time. And so spent a couple of years in KZN, Pietermaritzburg Girls High, great, awesome school. And then left for India.
How did that come about? I mean, that intrigued me, to be honest.
All right.
So you would have been what, 15, 16 probably?
Yeah, 15, 16 at that age. That came about because my dad has always been interested in education. So he was a principal in his past life. My mom's still a teacher. And so he has always looked out for those opportunities in education, and especially for us and his kids and just wider family has always pushed for kind of all of us to get a good education. And so he had always been keeping his eyes out for those opportunities. And one day he was reading a newspaper. There's a local newspaper in Pietermaritzburg, and it showed a story of a certain young gentleman who had gotten a scholarship to go to a United World College school in Canada. So then my dad picks up the phone. He calls me to tell me about this, opportunity. He's like, totally have to apply. And I was intrigued by what he had to say. I listened, but at the time, I think it was end of exam season in grade 10. So kind of just wanted to focus on that. And eventually he won me over. I applied, went through a rigorous application process with the National Committee here in South Africa. So they are the ones that, conduct the whole application process and then eventually recommend you to a United World College somewhere in the world. So there's about, I think, 13 or 14 of them now. And I got the one in India. So
wow.
That's how I ended up going to India.
So there was a family meeting to decide this.
There was not.
You had a say. I just want to find out, you did have a say.
I did have a say. A say. At the end, I had a say. I mean, none of this would have happened had I not had a say. Think my dad would have
I must say that's very unusual. I mean, when at that age, when we're considering, can I call it boarding school next door?
Yeah.
You go to India for boarding school.
Yeah.
Right?
It was very unusual. It was very unusual at the time. But I think, as I've mentioned before, my dad is always supportive. And if there's any opportunity that, we think is fit, then he would recommend it to you, and kind of instilled those qualities in us to just always go after those opportunities.
So you then did 2 years of that?
Yes. So then I did my 2 years, kind of grade 11, grade 12, international baccalaureate diploma, and then college after that, or university.
And where was university?
The United States.
Okay.
Yes. So,
Where in the US?
so this little town called Bar Harbor, it's in Maine, the state of Maine.
Okay.
So the state of Maine is kind of the most northeastern state in the US. It borders Canada.
Yep.
And so College of the Atlantic was this small liberal arts college on an island off the coast of Maine, actually. There still is total of 350 something students. So it's a very, very small liberal arts college. Yeah, so I studied, so we only have one major, right? All of us graduate with one major. So that is called human ecology. And it was very intentional on my part to pursue human ecology because, as a 18-year-old, I did not know what I wanted to do I had an idea, but I still had lots of interests and lots of passions I wanted to pursue. And so I like the model of liberal arts colleges in that you study or, explore various passions or fields, and then at the end of 2 years, you declare a major.
Yes.
So that's kind of the typical liberal arts curriculum. But at College of the Atlantic, we didn't have to do any of that because we all had the same major.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the only difference then became what the focus was or what you chose to focus on.
Yeah.
So you can choose to focus on food systems or agriculture or, biomedical research, pre-med, which is kind of the track that I ended up going down. And
correct me if I'm wrong, the American college system, everybody studies the same thing, and then you tend to specialize later on, right? So you have the same base. And that's what you mean, right? So, that everybody had the same major, and then you got to branch out later. It's almost like, for lack of a better term, you have more opportunity, career guidance as well, to try and figure out exactly what's my passion, what am I interested in, all of that.
Yeah, no, definitely. So you have your normal conventional universities in America. Kind of they mirror the university system here in South Africa as well. But then you have liberal arts colleges where you study a 4-year degree. And so in your liberal arts colleges, the first 2 years is typically spent on, I think, as you said, exploring those different passions or interests. And then at the end of those 2 years, then you have to declare your major.
Okay.
And then that is what you end up graduating. Some people, have a minor and a major.
Yep.
Depends on you as a person. But then College of the Atlantic took it a step further in that they were like, okay, all of you are going to have the same major, so you don't have to declare anything by end of 2 years.
Yeah.
And it was a completely, and still is, a self-designed curriculum, in that you are in charge of your own learning.
Yeah.
So you are, the master of designing your own curriculum, and obviously, as you mentioned, with guidance from your advisors or career counselors.
Okay. And that was human ecology.
So that was human ecology. Yeah.
In a nutshell, what is that?
Great question. Great question. So human ecology is essentially the study of how humans interact with their built environments, with their surrounding environments. That can look very differently to, different people, right? So maybe I'll just use myself an example. So my interests were in health, right? So then I ended up, just looking at health determinants, what makes people healthy, what makes people not healthy, what factors contribute to health or not on an individual level and also on a population level. And so that was my focus. And maybe some people would be interested in, I keep bringing up food systems, but so you're just like studying food systems, how, procuring food, those types of things. So how do we as human kind of move through our natural and built environments?
Okay. We learn every day.
We learn every day.
Absolutely. It now makes sense. So this now informed your master's in science, where you followed another route, right?
Yeah.
Talk us through that.
Awesome. So
I presume now we're walking away from the US.
we have not walked away from the US.
Okay, we're still in the US.
We are still in the US. And so while we are still in the US, we take a little detour to Kenya.
Okay.
So where I did my study abroad program with the School of International Training. And so my study abroad program was looking at urbanization, healthcare, and human rights. So still focused on topics of healthcare, right? But then also evaluating other factors that contribute to, population well-being. And so took that little detour, and my study abroad program in Kenya was really, really informative and pivotal in what happened for me afterwards, because that is when I kind of got introduced to, the topic of public health. Or just studying health at a population level instead of, just at an individual level. Because prior to that, that was the route that I was going down. So pre-med route. Yeah. And so, so after that, that is when I knew that, okay, my master's degree or any studies that I engage in further would look like studying public health on some level. Yeah. And that didn't end up happening yet. So after I graduated, I worked in biomedical research at an epigenetics lab, which was awesome, but it also really just reinforced that the career path for me was, broader than pipetting. All right. So I came back to South Africa, was finding my feet for a couple of months, and kind of still ended up in the field of research, clinical research, HIV vaccine research, while at the same time still actively pursuing those higher education opportunities.
Okay. So from India to the US to Kenya, back home. Right? Covering quite a broad spectrum, by the way.
Definitely.
But I think the theme was already carved out in terms of your research, development, public health.
Exactly.
That I think you were becoming quite clear about. While we are on the HIV topic, I couldn't wonder, I think the other day it was World AIDS Day. Are we making any headway there? A lot has been done. I know that,
100%.
back in the day, one had, if I recall, used to take a lot of medicine for ARVs as an example, but now I think it's just one pill, right, that we take. But how are developments there? We've been so focused on COVID. The topic of HIVs almost feels like it's fallen off the table.
And it did at some point there, but I think, as you said, lots of headway has been made in the field, and it's been, a very just interesting and fulfilling time to be in the space somewhat. But the most interesting thing coming in the market is, those long-acting injectables for HIV prevention. And so it looks like taking an injection every couple of months instead of taking that pill a day, which is also an advancement in taking that pill a day. So that's exciting. That's in the pipeline. Kind of just in the final stages before, distributing those medicines to the public.
Okay.
Yeah, so lots of advancements.
No, super. So we're in SA and you're getting itchy feet.
I'm getting itchy again.
And where did the journey take you?
So from South Africa, the journey takes me to the United Kingdom. I had started my public health, like my MPH, with UCT. And at the time, that was online, just because it was during COVID. But then I got an opportunity or scholarship per se to pursue my master's degree in London. So took it, of course. And yeah, then I ended up 2021, August 2021, September, October, going to Imperial College, London, in London, to do my Master of Science in Epidemiology.
Yep.
So a bit more specialized from the kind of general or broader Master of Public Health degree. And that was by design. It was very intentional on my part. Because, at some point, it's great to have broad interest and passions and fields, but it was very important and prudent to me and for my learning to, start specializing in something. So yeah, that was very intentional. I chose Imperial College because of its absolutely rigorous curriculum and emphasis on developing quantitative skills and programming skills as well. It's a mostly STEM university. And yeah, that took about a year. And probably one of the most challenging things actually I have done, but very, very rewarding as well.
No, absolutely. Imperial College, very credible.
Absolutely.
Globally renowned.
Absolutely.
Quite intense, you're quite
very.
Right. Up to that point, when you look back on just your journey, what did you learn about yourself?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I learned the art of being resilient, nimble, being able to pivot, and being flexible. But then I think the skill that I'm learning now is using everything that I've learned and starting to do something, right? So now being in more of the implementation phase instead of, just having everything be research-based or research-heavy. And so yeah, I would definitely say that I definitely view myself as a very resilient, quick person.
That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And we fast forward now.
Exactly.
You're a program analyst.
I'm working as a program analyst, yes.
What does that mean? A day in the life of a program analyst? What does that look like?
A day in the life of the program analyst looks very different, right? The day-to-day is completely different. But I think, as I mentioned, it was very intentional on my part in wanting to be with a company that, takes learnings from science and, translates those learnings into, just like operationalizing science in the public health sphere. So program analyst varies. Right now for me, we would say that, we're just wanting to understand the public health context in South Africa or internationally as well when it comes to, certain diseases, right? So what is the state of HIV in South Africa? What are problems there? And what can we do? What are some innovative and newer solutions that we can take from, data science and implement those in ways that actually improve lives? And not only HIV, right? Looking at other non-communicable diseases and other infectious diseases as well. And so, yeah, kind of as a program analyst, okay, kind of what is the prevalence maybe of HIV in a certain population, and what do maybe clinics struggle with the most? We know that one of the bigger things is, retention in health. That's huge, especially if you are, if you are diagnosed with HIV, that's something you live with for the rest of your life. And one of the biggest things is, just remaining in care. That can be a challenge. And so, yeah, just working to try and solve for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just help me understand, is the focus of analysis more on the diseases or in the system, or the infrastructure, or the relationship of all the above, right?
All the above. I mean, it's analysis, or using data that only tells a certain story, right? A certain narrative, and it can only take you so far. Now you have to take that and talk with certain stakeholders in the field to validate what data it is that you may have received from them. Does this make sense to you? Is this what this is what we're seeing? Is this what you guys are seeing as well in your clinics, for example? So yeah, definitely a component of analysis. I don't do that. But yeah, then my role becomes, just translating or talking about those data science or analysis finding and validating them with your clinics, your healthcare workers. Does that...
No, I get it. And where to from here? Because you're not done, right? I feel like we just starting.
We're just starting.
But if you had to look into this crystal ball, and I know now in today's times we look at even careers like sprints, right?
Exactly.
In that way. But if you had to take that leap and say, these are my next goals, what does that look like?
Career-wise, I think I am pretty settled. What I would like to do is continue, I think as I mentioned before, developing expertise in just in one, just like developing one skill set, right? And certainly building on those quant or programming skills that I have. That will look very different, right, in this day and age, just because of changing technologies. And so yeah, the field is always rapidly changing, like all the time. So then it becomes imperative to keep up with those learnings.
So you'll remain flexible.
I will remain flexible.
I hear you. Now, we've got, you're an analyst, you're in the healthcare sector, so, you've analyzed pandemics of a different kind. We also have the unemployment pandemic.
We do.
Right?
We really do.
Any ideas we could share there? Because it's absolutely catastrophic, this, right?
It is.
Your thoughts on that for those, we've got graduates that are on the unemployment queue, as I call it. What can they do? Just to enter into mainstream or be self-sufficient themselves, right?
You are right. That is quite it is a pandemic of sorts, and when you look at the numbers, they are just absolutely mind-boggling. I've also experienced periods of unemployment when I came back from the US while I was trying to find my feet. Yeah, it was a period of significant unemployment. And what I did at the time was develop other skills. It looked like writing, right? I've always been interested in writing. But then what I started doing during that period was writing not for myself, but wanting to start putting my writings out there. And so it looked like working on an article, for example, and then contacting people and seeing if, we could put something out there. And so, the article didn't have to be, or wasn't something that was very technical. It was just like talking about my journey, right? And eventually I did find a publisher for that article on this homecoming platform. And it was not paid work at all. It was just something to keep myself busy. and also something that not only keeps myself busy, but like adds to my skill set, right? So I think I would definitely advocate for that as well. You know, while we are going through, you know, that period of unemployment, it's okay to start small. It really is, to start small and to do something that where you, if you're not, I guess the saying is, if you're not earning, right, make sure that you're learning, right? Yeah, so at the time when I wasn't earning, I wanted to learn, which was valuable, right? So doing something that is, that looks like writing, for example, that's always a good start. And that is obviously a key skill, right? Because you will gain, you will find a job, you will get a job, and writing is obviously a big component of any job.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I like that. If you are not earning, make sure you're learning.
Exactly.
And learning equally does not mean formal learning. Could mean share your gifts.
Exactly.
You know, your skills and so forth. Continuous improvement.
Exactly. Right. And there are various ways of sharing. It doesn't have to be writing. It could honestly just be convening a group of people in a space and just talking about relevant topics at the time. Yeah.
No, excellent. I see you are chairperson of the Commonwealth Scholars and Fellows. Let's brag a bit. What is that? I mean, that sounds so important.
It is important to me. It is a cause that I care deeply about. So part of my being able to study at Imperial College was through the Commonwealth Scholarship. So it was fully funded by the Commonwealth Scholarship, and some stakeholders here in South Africa, like, you know, the Department of Higher Education and Training. So they were the ones that were responsible for, you know, the nomination process, and they put you forward to the British High Commission, British Council. So then after my studies at Imperial College, I just wanted to find a way to continue being involved in the Commonwealth community and network, just because the experience was just very life-changing for me. And very instrumental in just shaping who I am today. And I also recognize the importance of not paying it forward, but certainly blasting and sharing the opportunities that you've been awarded, right, with other folks. So it just so happened that when I came back, South Africa had or still has an alumni network base. So the Commonwealth really emphasizes, you know, the importance of keeping those network bases running in Commonwealth countries, right? And so South Africa did have a network base. And so, our role is basically starting to revive that network base. And we're a small group of dedicated individuals and folks who really just convene together and are starting to, you know, make sure that we are, you know, keeping track of our alumni and putting together events, networking events, and opportunities for folks in the Commonwealth Scholarship, right? Because I think and
how they give back, right?
Exactly. Because another thing is, right, when coming back to South Africa, it's like that can be a culture shock at times, and you can also struggle to find your feet.
That's interesting. The reintegration is equally important.
Exactly. I think for me, reintegration has been the hardest part, actually. Maybe leaving and adapting or assimilating to a different culture is like, child's play. Reintegrating can be quite difficult. And funny you bring that up, because that was the topic of that article that I wrote when I was unemployed.
No, absolutely. No, thank you for that. Now, let's see, in your travels as you were moving around, you know, things that you wouldn't ordinarily say in an interview.
Oh, wow.
So, London or India?
London.
What did you miss most, kota or magwenya?
Amagwinya. I haven't had amagwinya.
Did you smuggle them as you were going overseas?
You know what? I wish I could have, because I can't make a good guinya.
I hear you. And Will Smith or Idris Elba?
Ooh, Idris Elba. Mm-hmm.
Is that the reason you chose the UK?
Maybe or maybe not. I'll keep it between you and I.
No, but thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, Sibongakonke Dlamini. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.